Mental Health is a Lifestyle podcast is not a substitute for a relationship with your mental health professional. Hello, once again, family. Back to another episode of the Mental Health is a Lifestyle podcast with your girl, Andrea Wise-Brown. So please click this little bell up here, click the subscribe button, and then click that bell so that you get the notification every time a new episode comes out. All right? Okay, because you know we are family, and I'm going to be dropping the jewels to help you keep your mind healthy and strong. Okay, so family, here we go. We are back for part 2 with Dr. Nicole O'Barto-Trainer. You know, this was something that I learned recently. Just wanting to know your thoughts on this. What is it? Is it fecal microbiome transplant?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so I'm wondering, do you believe in FMT? Because when we kind of talk about, probiotics, right, and choosing these foods to make sure that we keep that wall strong, right, adding good bacteria with the balance of the bad bacteria, keeping the wall strong. So then I've learned this new thing I've learned about FMTs. So do you want to explain what it is, and then you can tell me if you agree or not?
Well, so what I've seen about this process is that when somebody has like pretty severe dysbiosis, which is complete like dysfunctionality within the gut, right? So
Okay.
their gut has been they have severe dysbiosis, which is an imbalance of the gut microbiome at a pretty severe level, right? Which is
Okay.
impaired functionality. So the entire system needs rebuilt.
Okay.
So
Well, and let me wait. Hold on, Dr. Nicole. So this could show up like having irritable bowel syndrome all the time, or maybe not being able to tolerate foods, always having pain in the gut. Like, so these would be maybe some symptoms of you saying,
yeah.
the stomach being off,
Yeah,
right? Okay.
severe. So I would say the more severe and the more
Uh-huh.
chronic the gastrointestinal disorders are, the
Okay.
more likely that there's more dysbiosis, right? Like
Okay.
profound imbalances of good and bad bacteria within the gastrointestinal system, and very low integrity of very low integrity of the gut wall, right? That it's designed to protect us from having too many toxins and too much secretion of bad bacteria into our bloodstream, ultimately to our brain. So they're doing these fecal transplants because they're finding people who have like really, high integrity gut microbiomes, right? Like, oh, you've got the picture perfect gut microbiome, right? Beautiful balance of good and good and bad flora. And yes, so they're taking and they're through IV. So it's done through IV. So it's not like, well, I don't know. That's enough said, right? Like
Well,
how
no,
we imagine this happens, but it is IV.
wait, hold on, Dr. Nicole, because I just said I called it, I just named it right. Is I said, let me say it again, let me break it down for you guys. So FMT represents fecal, okay, fecal microbiome transplant. So you said what it's done. You said by IV
So it's basically taking the fecal matter
matter.
from somebody who has like a very strong gut
Okay, we
flora.
talking about poo, y'all. Fecal matter is poo. Okay, poo poo. Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And intravenously giving it to somebody else.
Now, hold on. So what I also saw was they take it, this is another way, right? And they put it in these little capsules. So they literally were putting it in capsules. So I saw this on that movie, on the Netflix
Okay.
special. So you have to
Yeah.
watch that. Okay. So they put it in these little capsules and like as a pill, like a supplement, and put them in the freezer, and then was taking them daily
from the
Okay.
freezer. Yeah. So
Okay.
it was something that people kind of a DIY. You did it on your own.
Oh,
Y-
okay.
yeah. Okay, so I'm just saying, I love it. I want you to keep going where you're going with the intravenously, but I'm telling you, there's a whole process out here where you can actually take the fecal matter yourself, and you do it with a syringe kind of thing, and then you
Hmm.
make the little pills, put them in the freezer, and then you take it out the freezer, and then you take them daily.
Okay, so that must be a progression of the use of this intervention, right?
Okay.
So when I was first introduced to this intervention, it was through a training, and the doctor who was conducting the training said that they are they're doing these fecal transplants in cases with severe dysbiosis,
Okay.
um, and that they were done kind of intravenously. So this is probably a progression of that science, right? This is probably like, hey, this is actually a way of restoring uh, gut health in somebody who has severe chronic gastrointestinal disorders, or that we feel like that's a part of the disruption in their well-being. And so now they've come up with a way to do it where you can kind of do it at home, I guess.
Yes. Ooh, it kind of skeeves me out a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, so we've been donating sperm though for
Oh,
decades, right?
that's so true.
So
That
we're
is
not
so
too,
true.
this is not too far. We're just
No,
restoring gut microbiome.
it's so good. Okay, and so I'm going to tell you what the outcome was because I saw the show, so this is good just to give you this.
Hmm.
But I just want to know, right, when you were learning, what did they say the outcomes were? So when they were doing it intravenously.
Oh, positive. It was positive. I think that the barrier at that point, when I attended this conference and was exposed to this intervention, the
Mm-hmm.
barrier at that point was really like the people like wrapping their
Yes.
head around the fact that like basically I am ingesting or having ingested into my body in some form or fashion like somebody else's poo.
Somebody else's pool, yeah. So that was the barrier.
So that was the
Okay.
barrier. I think they felt like it was promising. It was promising to be able to restore, to take, again, people's systems who they determine through examination of their fecal specimen that like this person has strong gut integrity. There's good flora in there. There's good flora, good and bad. This is strong gut integrity. This would be a good candidate to be able to donate their fecal matter, so to speak, should be used in this way. But I think it
Yeah.
was more just people wrapping their heads around the fact of what it actually was.
Yeah. I'll just tell you what happened was, and this is for you and family because maybe some of the family wouldn't watch it. So here you go. Spoiler alert. So it was a woman who was having issues with her stomach for some time. And so
Hmm.
what she did was she did this FMT,
Hmm.
and she used her brother's fecal matter. One time she did it, and then one time she used her boyfriend's. And what was so interesting was when she used interchangeably boyfriend, brother, I don't know which one had which issue, but one of them had issues with depression, and the other one had issues with acne. And so so look, so the person whose fecal matter she used, who had the issues with the acne, she used that one first. And when she used that, I think it was her brother, she felt better. Like then she could eat again. Her stomach flora was better. She felt healthy. However, she started to break out and have acne. So then she stopped using his, and then she used the other person's. I guess that was the boyfriend or I don't know which one, but whomever that one was, he had issues with depression in the past, and so bouts of depression. And as soon as she started taking the pills with his fecal matter, she started to become depressed. I thought that was so interesting, but it also just proves how, and we know that our fecal matter comes from, it's kind of like our report card from what is going on inside our body, the foods
Yeah.
that we're eating and what's going on in our stomach. So I just thought that was freaking amazing and a testament to how your brain really is connected to your
Your
body,
gut.
meaning like
Your gut.
emotions, your gut. Yes, yes,
Yes.
yes, yes. Yes, that was so good. And they did the same thing with mice,
Yeah.
where they injected them, and they pretty much had, it was the same thing. It was consistent. And I loved, it was amazing. But go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I think it's just again another reinforcing experience, right, of how much influence the gut has on the rest of the body, right? Like that the nervous
Yes.
system in the gut and the integrity of the gut and gut health, right? It has such an influence on the body, right? Like that you could actually she experienced depression after basically serving up to her body uh like gut flora that had, like the essence, if you will, of depression.
Yeah. 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 So I thought it was so good. Okay, so just a couple of more questions. Um, hmm. Because I think you pretty much answered a lot of them in reference to foods causing irritable bowel syndrome. I think you were saying pretty much it's individualized, and we know what foods are better for us, and and where we should shop and what we should
Hmm.
eat, and what feeds our gut, what feeds it in a healthy way. Yeah, we talked about those things. So I guess before we leave, we talked about that dirty dozen. Oh, okay. This is what I was asking, what I was thinking. We were talking about adding supplements, and I do add supplements daily. I
Hmm.
do. I add supplements daily. You talk about the B12, the B vitamins, the D's, the C's, all that. It's a whole regimen for me, child, every morning, along with exercise.
Hmm.
But I was wondering because there is some research. I had gone to a conference before, and they were talking about um, how um, how influential turmeric
Hmm.
is to the gut. And so I'm just wondering, do you know or have you heard any research on turmeric?
Yes, turmeric is a well-known anti-inflammatory. It is a
Mm,
well-known anti-inflammatory with a lot of, like, research that supports um, its role in decreasing inflammation. So certainly throughout the gut and then throughout the body.
okay,
Yeah.
that's good. It's an
Hmm.
anti-inflammatory. Okay, I
Yep.
love that. So quick, simple. I love
Hmm.
that. Um, and something that I learned some years ago about St. John's wort. I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but that's a supplement also. And I
Hmm.
think they did some years ago. I learned about them doing a double-blind study, and they were
Hmm.
proving that taking St. John's wort over a long period of time can
Hmm.
help shift your mood, and it can help with depression, ease depression. Have you
Yes.
heard of that?
Yes. So St. John's wort is a it's a highly used antidepressant. In fact, it is used over traditional antidepressants all over Europe. So you would
Mm.
not find somebody getting a traditional antidepressant like Zoloft or
Lexapro, Zoloft.
Prozac or
Mhm.
Lexapro, right?
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
in
Mhm.
Europe, you're going to find that they're going to more often be prescribed St. John's wort.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So I
And there
did
are,
learn that. Mhm.
yeah, so there are a couple classes of, like, so um like SAMI is another example. So St. John's
Yes.
wort, SAMI, these are antidepressants, if you will, that are derived from herbs or uh, natural products, right? And they are marketed much more readily and used much more often, right? Like in Europe than they are here in the United States. So
Okay.
so it would be important before you were to pursue using St. John's wort or SAMI to do a little bit of research. There is some research on in the, like, if you were to look in journals of complementary and alternative medicine, or if you were to look to um, any of the research, like, so there's quite a few manuals for the treatment of anxiety and depression through the complementary and alternative lens, they are going to give nice descriptions of when St. John's wort should be used versus when SAMI should be used, right? What types of depression symptoms are showing up for somebody, and which herb is going to be considered to be the most effective herb to take. And then they also would give contraindications, which are important for why somebody might not want to use CME or St. John's wort, but they are absolutely vital alternatives to the traditional antidepressants that we
Use
are
in the
so
Western
often
world.
presented with here. Yeah.
I got you. Ashwagandha was one too. Have you heard
Yes.
any research on ashwagandha?
Yes. Yes. So
Okay.
these are herbs and adaptogens. So if you're interested, these would be herbs and adaptogens. And they're, again, kind of another area of coming out of the complementary and alternative medicine world that's saying, like, these plant derived
Yes.
products that we can create are much more natural. They're less toxic. There's less side effects. And we should be curious about
Mm.
the effect that these adaptogens that could have on our nervous system,
Mm-hmm.
our levels of anxiety, our levels of depression. So this is that's just another example of finding alternatives to
Yes.
traditional pharmaceuticals. I think
Okay.
people are they're more curious now about they're not necessarily wanting just to take a traditional pharmaceutical
Mm-hmm.
for mood and emotionality, because I think we're also accepting that these are not acute. Like, mood and emotionality is
Mm-hmm.
not something that's always just going to be acute, where I can just take medication for a
That's right.
couple of months and it's going to resolve itself. I
That's
think
right.
as we lift the veil
Mm-hmm.
of the amount of disruption in emotional well-being that we're facing, right,
Yes.
as a
Mm-hmm.
country, as a
Mm-hmm.
world, right, like,
Yes.
that we need more sustainable solutions. Like, we need
Yes.
lifestyles
Yes.
that support, right, we need lifestyle medicine. So
Yes.
not necessarily pharmaceuticals that carry lots of long-term side effects, or we don't even know what the side effects are, right, but we need more lifestyle medicine. So we need more adaptogens. We need more, there's a lot of adaptogen drinks on the market now to help relieve anxiety. There's a lot of plant derived products, if you will, aromatherapies, nervous system regulation on a regular basis, right? Like,
Yes. Yes.
so I think that's why you see more and more of these things kind of popping up, like in our pop psychology, and certainly, like, there's merit. We should explore them. We should look for the source, right? Complementary and alternative medicine, Journal of Complementary and Alternative Medicine. These are reliable sources for
Mm-hmm.
data to explore products that you might want to take, herbs that you've heard of, and just be an educated consumer of your wellness products.
I love it. I love it so
Right.
much.
Hey, family, come on over here because I have something for you. Starting off with a go to guide for keeping your minds healthy and strong. This right here is the Bible to mental health. It's your mental health Bible. The name of it is 6 Pillars to Power Up Your Mind and Make Mental Health a Lifestyle. Everything that you need to know about keeping your minds healthy and strong is in this go to guide. Where you get it from? Well, you get it from awisebrown.com/shop. But in this go-to guide, honey, in this mental health Bible, you know what you're going to find out? You're going to find out the benefits of aromatherapy, and how it can shift your mood. But guess what? You don't have to go anyplace else to look for your aromatherapy because your girls got you, okay? You can get some aromatherapy here. This is aromatherapy is in this candle. This is called a slice of happiness. It makes me tingle, like literally makes me tingle. A slice of happiness. This is a cruelty-free candle with no parabens, no formaldehyde, and no known suspected carcinogenics. Now, you go out here and you find these candles that smell good, but are they good for you? Are they good for your brain? Come on now, get real with yourself. Well, this one smells delicious and it's good for you. Made with essential oils. It's a soy candle. Amazing. Uh, you can burn it or you can just walk by and smell it. Lord have mercy, it's so good. Okay, so that's your candle, your aromatherapy, which raises the dopamine in your brain. That's your natural feel good neurotransmitters in your brain. All right, y'all. And oh, I'm a part of you. You're a part of me. We are a family. We got hoodies now, and these are unisex hoodies, and they wear well, they wash well, and they feel so good. So you can wear them over your clothes, you know what I'm saying, and look dope, or you can wear them as your clothes with nothing under them, which I like to do often. And when you travel everywhere, I mean, every time I wear them, I'm moving around. People are always asking me whether I'm traveling, going to the supermarket. What's that? Who's that? And I'm like, mental health is a lifestyle. Because see, this is on the back. Okay? They come in white and they come in black. I'm like, join the family. Mental health is a lifestyle podcast. So there you go. Family, don't you ever say that I ain't give you nothing. You get all of these things from awisebrown.com/shop. All right? I got your goods. I got you. You don't have to go anyplace else. I'll see you on the other side.
Okay, two more questions.
Sure.
So, when we speak about, okay, foods
Mm-hmm.
that help you during these two stages.
Mm-hmm.
So one of them would be PPMD,
Mm-hmm.
and the other one is menopause.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just wondering, right? When we talking about mood shifts, for people who suffer from, PPMD, where it's not a full-on depression that they've had all the time. However, they may, experience some depressive symptoms. They may have a low mood. So I was just thinking about I don't know, maybe some foods that, maybe would be best to eat during that time to kind of prepare yourself, because I'm all about being proactive. And I know we have talked about foods. So if it's the same foods, then Dr. Nicole say the same foods. But then I know the same thing, on the other end of it, going through menopause also, there's a lot of changes. There's an increase in anxiety, and you have some low mood, some depression that you're going through, which is just a period, in life also. So I was just wondering, like, I don't know, do some foods come to mind that kind of could help with, I don't know, the regulation of your moods during that time? Or do you feel like we've already kind of talked about all of those?
Well, I think when we're talking about like the female, the female cycle in general, right? Whether it be the
Mm-hmm.
menstrual cycle and PMDD, or we're talking about um, perimenopause and menopause, right?
Yes.
Like what we need to be talking about is the natural changes and fluctuations in the sex hormones, testosterone,
Mm-hmm.
progesterone, estrogen, right?
Yes.
And
Mm-hmm.
so one thing that I would encourage every woman to educate herself on is how during different seasons of her life, the sex hormones and the availability of sex hormones is changing, right? Throughout
Mm-hmm.
her monthly cycle or in different seasons of her life, like perimenopause or during menopause, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because what you find is that that's a big piece of what throws our mood and our emotionality out of balance is those
Mm-hmm.
changes in the availability of those sex hormones, right?
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, we should be curious about progesterone, and we
Mm-hmm.
should look to find foods that are richer in progesterone, right? Like yams, or taking a
Okay.
wild yam supplement, for example. Um,
Oh.
so there are a few foods that have been shown to be like richer in progesterone enhancing foods, right? Like
Okay.
yams seem to top the list all the time.
Okay.
So I would suggest that if you find that, your period, like again, your menstrual cycle, we should
Mm-hmm.
all know our menstrual cycle too, because
Mm-hmm.
we would know then when, progesterone kind of falls away or estrogen gets high, or testosterone, right? Like it would help us
Mm-hmm.
understand, put context around the mood and emotionality that we have so that we could be a little bit more separate from it, right? And we could,
Yes.
we could be responsive instead of reactive, right? Like, let
Yes.
me
Well,
respond.
proactive.
Yes.
Proactive, right? Already. I
Yeah.
love that. I love it.
Yeah. So I think just really educating yourself on how um, your sex hormones fluctuate throughout the month and how your sex hormones change in prevalence in different seasons of life and how that affects your brain, right? So again, I think sometimes it can be about how can we nourish our body to support us through these difficult times, but sometimes I think it's also recognition of acceptance that, like we might respond differently to our environment or to stimuli at different times. How can we develop effective coping skills so that we are not don't feel so dysregulated, or we don't behave in ways that ultimately undermine our emotional well-being because maybe we're more reactive, we're more angry, or we're depressed, and so we isolate, right? And we pull back when we need to recognize, like, well, I'm feeling like this way. There's a biochemical process that's supporting this, and so I need to kind of override that and
Yes.
desire to isolate, perhaps because I know it's going to be really good for me to go out and meet my girlfriends for a walk, for
Yes.
example.
Yes. I got you. You talking, yes, 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 using coping skills. But at the same time, we can also eat some yams, is what you're saying.
Yes. And that's really what I'm all about, right? Like,
That's
I'm
right.
about holistic or
That's right.
like holistic. We have to think about, like, we're never just going to be our body. So nutrition is
Hmm.
never really going to be the answer, although we can gain
Good.
a lot from changing the foods that we eat, and we can make significant positive strides for our mental health by looking at our diet, examining our diet. But we
Hmm.
can't lose sight of the fact that we are multidimensional beings, right? And there's the physical element of our experience, which is food and movement, right? There's the emotional element of our experience, which is what emotion regulation skills do we have? Emotion focused coping skills do we have? There's the spiritual element of our experience. How much do I feel connected to a larger purpose? How much do I feel like that
Hmm.
my human experience has purpose and and intentionality that I like derive, right? And then there's the social part of us. And so how much community do I have? How much connection do I have with that community? How much in-person connection do I have with that community? Because, we know that that's plays a significant role in just, felt energy and connectivity, like, and mirror neurons. I mean, these are all really important aspects of why it's important that we get in touch in person and that we talk, we talk live sometimes instead of just through texting or messaging or zooming.
Yeah. No, no, no. I think that is so good. The whole holistic approach. I'm loving every single thing that that we talked about today. Dr. Nicole, I think it should go into a book. You need to write a book because it's so good. It's easy, I believe, for us to give people information,
Yeah.
right? Like I give you all this information. There's so many books in the world. And
Hmm.
you know what I mean? With the good stuff in it. But I can read this stuff, right? Take the horse to the water. But if I'm dealing with some other internal stuff,
Hmm.
then that within itself is the barrier, right? Like I know what I'm supposed to do. I know what's here. Okay, I learned it. I get it. I have all these choices. However, because of this disorder,
Hmm.
I can't get past it. So,
Yeah.
of course, I'm encouraging people always to go to a therapist. If you are feeling stuck, go talk about your stuff. Y'all know there's an earlier episode that I gave you where I kind of talked about how to find a good therapist. Well, with
Hmm.
all of the resources. So I want you to do that. But to end, um, if I don't know, do you want to like at least just give us a definition of anorexia, bulimia, orthorexia, and then that whole binge eating disorder? Because I'm just imagining people who have binge eating disorder, and I think I used to. Um, well, I say I'm in recovery. I'm in
Yeah.
recovery. But like hearing like I don't want to shop on the outsides of the supermarket. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm obsessed with chips. Like I'm obsessed with cookies. I'm
Yeah.
obsessed with, whatever those things are. So it is a shift in mindset and doing some
Hmm.
work with a therapist. But if you could
Hmm.
just define those things. Okay.
Well, so I'll tell you what, I mean, this conversation goes along really nicely with conversations about gastrointestinal disorders, right? Because a lot of times the interventions for chronic gastrointestinal disorders are restrictive diets of some sort, right? So when
That's
you
right.
see a provider, they take out certain foods, right? If you see a provider who's holistic, like a lot of times they do take out a lot of foods, right? And so unfortunately, what I see in my practice is sometimes somebody will present initially with a primary gastrointestinal disorder, and then inadvertently they end up with a secondary an eating disorder that has come secondary to the gastrointestinal disorder because they've been practicing such a restrictive diet in order, or elimination diet, in order to try to figure out what is causing the chronic gastrointestinal upset, that it actually then creates either a restrictive eating disorder or restrictive eating disorder habit where they're so restrictive in the foods that they eat, right? That they're very, very limited in the foods that they eat, and that causes changes in the way that their body looks, and then those are reflective of what they think is like culturally adored, and so now we've got a whole eating disorder process going on, right? Or the same with anorexia, right? Like the avoidance of eating because of the gastrointestinal upset, right? So I got chronic bloating and chronic gas, and so I just eat less and less and less, or I put off eating because I don't, right? Like, and then over time my body doesn't have send me those cues anymore, right, to eat. So then I don't feel hungry, and then I end up, losing a lot of a lot
Wait.
of weight. Those are both kind of restrictive eating type disorders, whereas bulimia or binge eating disorders tend to have underpinnings more like like a psychological. They're
Yes.
so like they're more addictive processes, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Certainly, like when we talk about like binge or bulimia, like where you binge and purge, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
these become kind of addictive processes, and their treatment um so the underpinnings are much more of an addictive process that you might
Mm-hmm.
think of, right? And
Yes.
eating disorders in general as an umbrella are often conceptualized as like addictive in some ways, but I think it's important to point out that sometimes you can arrive at an eating disorder because you engaged with an intervention that was for a primary health condition, right? Like I said, like IBS or chronic gastrointestinal, and then I'm given an elimination diet. In order to follow that diet, I've changed my mindset around the way I eat, or I've developed a really restrictive diet because I'm only eating these certain foods because my provider's asking me to eliminate a lot. And so we end up having kind of a secondary disruption, and secondary eating disorder kind of born out of a gastrointestinal disorder, is like kind of like how I like to say. Because I work with a lot of clients who come to me and they've seen a provider who've put them on a very restrictive diet. And
Mm-hmm.
now they're showing up to me and I'm assessing the situation, looking for mind body strategies that I can help to complement the eating, complement the diet, right? The lifestyle diet that supports the gastrointestinal. And then I'm discovering, like, oh, well, we've got an eating disorder now. So, yeah.
No, I know, I know. So I just wanted to kind of end on,
Yeah.
yeah, to end on that because it's not healthy to obsess over anything. And that's why I love when you say it's the holistic approach. Let's
Mm-hmm.
lean into it little by
Mm-hmm.
little. And then I'm always going to say, I'm going to say go to a therapist to kind of help you
Mm-hmm.
process so that, yeah, you don't become obsessive with
Yeah.
either way, right?
Right.
Overeating, undereating, or what is this? The orthorexia, which is what is that? That's making sure that you do everything, eating super healthy or making
Super
sure,
healthy.
like, yeah,
Mhm.
obsessively healthy. That's right, because
Mhm.
that's a disorder too.
Too.
So too
Yeah.
much of anything can be
Yeah.
detrimental to your health, right? And to your
Yes.
mental
Yes.
health.
Yes. For sure.
Okay, Dr. Nicole O'Barto-Trainer, thank you, thank you, thank you
Oh, you're
so
welcome.
much for your
Thank you.
time, for your expertise. Girl, you got it. Yeah, you need to put
Thank
this
you.
in a book because this was
Oh,
good.
thank you so much. I enjoyed talking to you so much this morning. This was good.
Okay, good, good, good. So I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. So thank you, family, once again, for showing up to the Mental Health is a Lifestyle podcast. And I am so excited and cannot wait
to see you next week on the next episode. Bye-bye.